Welcome back to the channel, everyone. This is a Let's Play session at 2L. Pretty focused on beginners, this one. So if you're new to poker or thinking about playing poker, this is a little 2L Let's Play session with a bit of an explanation about what's going on. But there's only having the two tables, we can spend a little bit more time talking through our pre-flop thought process, particularly in this video. And then we might move on to some more complex stuff as we go. We'll just see what happens. So just before setting off the recording, we've had a look at the table and tagged the shorter stacks in green. So our green tag is just the default one we give people we don't know anything about that aren't topping their stack off. We're just going to assume they're not very good if they're not playing with a 100 big blind stack. So we're going to be opening to 3x today. As a beginner, we'll keep it nice and simple. Play a tighter range and open to a larger size. So our ace king offsuit from the small blind is most definitely going to be 3-bet. We're going to bump this up to 10 big blinds against this guy with a really small open. He seems quite tight, and out of position we've got not a lot going on. I am just going to check this and then make a decision depending on what he does. Same again with this one. I'm just going to check this one as well. So he can have ace jack, ace queen, which just gets there. We're going to check again and see what he does. King 9. Happy not to bluff at it, fair enough. We'll take it down with ace king. We know that this guy's going to call with some trash. So this one on table 1 again. I'll just open this pocket fours. Against a pot, nearly 3/4 pot bet, we're just going to fold. We haven't got anything going on here. Backdoor straight draw, but for that size, we're just going to fold and stay out of the way. Pocket 8s we will open under the gun. We've got this loose cally player here. We've seen him pot it when check 2, so if we do hit a strong hand on the flop, if we hit a set, I wouldn't mind checking to him and raising. We'll see what he does. So it's good to try and get in the habit of thinking about what you're going to do with your hand in the next street. So this here, out of position, we're just going to check because we have one player in position to us and we have middle pair. He can have a lot of 10s, so we're going to check and see what he does. We do have a gut shot as well and a backdoor club draw. Gut shot referring to a gut shot straight if we hit a 9. We likely have the best hand here. This guy can check a 10 out of position, but if he bets, we will call. Somebody can also have a 6, which when he bets that size is more or less what he's saying he's got. We are going to call here. He can have a 10 or a 6, but we're ahead of some other stuff. His airball bluffs, his jack queens. Stuff like Queen 9, Jack 9, we're all beaten. It's less likely he has a 6 now, and when he checks back, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a 10. I'm going to try and just bet really small to try and get called by ace high. So we're going to go for a 5 big blind bet. Let me take it down. King Queen suited in the big blind, definitely a hand we want to play. We can consider 3-betting this pre-flop, but we're just going to play pretty straightforward and err on the side of caution today, as we're looking at a beginner focus. And beginners, I would assume, aren't that comfortable playing in 3-bet pots, so we will not be bloating pots pre-flop. So this Jack 10 off in the big blind, a lot of people like to call it broadways. This offsuit Broadway on the button even. This offsuit Broadway on the button We don't want to call it against an under the gun raise. This guy isn't, even though he hasn't topped his stack off, he isn't opening egregiously wide. So I'm just going to fold this. If it was suited, we can think about a call or a 3-bet, but we're just going to fold that one. If this guy's playing 40% or 50%, we can think about calling there because he's opening that many cards. Starting hands, we can think about a call. But against the 20-25%, I think we'll just fold. Trash like that, obviously we just fold from any position. We don't really want to be playing it. The only time I would consider opening something as bad as 5-4 off or 9 deuce off would be on the button, so on this dealer button, and if our big blind had a really small VPIP like this guy, around 10-12%, then we can think about profitably opening any 2 cards because he's folding such a wide portion of his range. He's barely playing any cards. This we will be raising against this guy because there's been another caller, so we've had an open and a call. We're going to bump this up larger, so normally we'd go to 8, but we're going to bump it up to 12. If he jams against this guy, I think I'm going to call. I won't be in love with this because it's not a great hand to call with, but I think against 65 big blinds, 66.5 big blinds, we'll probably call. The ace-10 suited will open from under the gun, and this jack-9 suited will also open if we get chance. So what do we know about this guy here? Andre B8, not a lot. Against the 3-bet, we're just going to fold this. So if we look at this guy's HUD stats as well, he's 3-bet in 71 hands is 3%. It's not a lot at all. And pretty much if we call, he's in a position to more or less jam flop. So we're just going to fold this. And this one, out of position to 2 players, I'm going to check and then raise with our middle pair and the flush draw. Definitely against that size, we're going to fire a raise in. I wouldn't hate getting this all in, because we have tons and tons of equity. I don't think a jack ever bets 2 big blinds there. If he does come back over the top, he's pretty much saying he's got pocket 5s. The jack's a good card for us. It's less likely he's got a jack. I'm going to bet again. Trying to get value from other flush draws. Queen, King. 8, 9. All hands that can call us. And this 3-2 off, we're just going to fold. So that previous hand there, when you are betting, try and think about what is going to call if I do bet, especially if you raise. A good portion of his crap should fold. Don't get me wrong, sometimes they don't, and they'd call you with pocket 6s or something there. I've seen that plenty of times, but just be careful if you are bluffing. If they call a check raise and your check raise is just a flat out bluff, I would maybe not consider barreling further, because they will call you down with just about any 2 cards sometimes. So this we're just going to fold. this queen 5 suited, if we get a chance to open it, I don't mind opening this in this position. So if we have a look at this guy here in 46 hands, he's pretty tight. We don't know anything about him, so we're going to try this as an open. See if we can get it through. And flop a flush draw. So we're going to go half pot. If he calls, we will be overbetting the turn and then giving up on river unless we hit our wet heart. Same again here, we're going to go half pot. So hands like 5s, 4s, 3s and 2s, all them pocket pairs, even pocket 8s, 9s and 10s, are going to find it difficult to call a bet. So we're going to go for half pot. We also have a lot of draws there. We could have continued with some aggression. And then this ace queen suited will open. Ace 4, a spade suited. Under the gun, I'm going to fold this today. I'm not going to open the weaker suited aces from under the gun. We're going to open them from middle position instead. We will open ace 5 suited and then just go with the broadways from there. And this will fold. Even multi-way, I'm just going to fold this. We'll play snug. Flop the nuts. So there is some pre-flop stuff on the channel if you are learning or thinking about starting to play, or you are a player who is struggling to beat 2NL or 5NL. There's some pre-flop range charts there for you to have a look at. So this guy is fairly tight. I think I am actually going to call this against him and be very, very cautious on the flop. The reason I've decided to call this is because we've got a couple of looser players in the blinds. I don't mind playing this hand multi-way, but we will play with a lot of caution. So we've hit middle pair and we've also got a gut shot for the straight. It isn't the greatest gut shot in the world because spades can cause us a little bit of bother. So when he bets out here, because we've got, if we just had middle pair, say we had Queen 7 here, which I would never play anyway, but if we did, I would just fold it. We've got the additional equity. If we hit a jack, we could be good. A queen could be good for us, or obviously the 10. So we're going to call. It's less likely now he has a king, but he can have pocket 9s. He could have jack 10. I think with our showdown, I don't think we need to bet here. The only thing we'll be protecting against is spades. So if a spade comes, we've got an easy decision to make. And I think against half pot we can just call. He could have ace queen here, which beats us. But against half pot I think we've got no choice but to call. We beat queen 10, queen... that's about it really. We can have pocket aces. I think we've probably lost the minimum there. At 2NL, I would never ever consider raising that river there as a bluff. You can discount a lot of kings on that turn at this stake because players would just bet them. So we can eliminate a lot of that from his range, but I would never consider raising. I don't think aces would fold there very often at all at 2NL. You really just want to be firing it in there when you've got it to get them to call you and extract as much value as you possibly can. So this is a hard flop for him to hit, either player really. I don't normally bluff into multiple players, but this one I'm just going to fire quite a large bet off. And then unless we hit our jack or ace, we're just going to give up. I think we just check now. He can obviously have a 5. 6, 7 would call. Ace deuce, ace 3, which we're all ahead of at the minute. And I think if you bet, we can just call. We may be good. You can obviously have pocket 6s. I don't think a hand like pocket 6s, 7s or 8s bets would bet half pot maybe. But we beat stuff like 6, 7, 2, 3. I don't think a 4 would ever bet half pot. Normally I wouldn't advise calling here, but there's a lot of stuff missed, so I am actually going to call. And we're good. Why he's calling Jack 10 suited there, I don't know. Against the flop bet we're now going on. And this we're going to use as a 3-bet for value against a small blind. So we're going to go to 6 big blinds because he's opened it to 2, and we're in position of him. If we were out of position, we'd raise it 4 times what he has, but as we're in position, we'll do it 3 times what he has. And we've got a good shot and 1 over. I think we're going to go for a half pot bet in position. He can be putting us on ace king obviously, so I like a bet here. And when he fires that raise out, he's pretty much saying he's got clubs really or king x. And because we've only got a good shot and 1 over, we've effectively got 7 outs, which is about 28% equity here if we're beat. So I'm just going to fold. In 3-bet pots, when people raise you, you normally beat. If we had ace jack of clubs there, we don't mind a call because we've got the additional outs for the flush draw. I don't mind a fold there. We've got absolutely nothing going on. This king jack we will open, and we'll just see how long I've been recording. We have been on. We'll play for another 5 or 10 minutes and just talk through what's going on. And we're going to tag this player as well as not very good, with him calling that flop bet with jack 10 with diamonds, and he hasn't topped his stack off. These guys we're going to tag as tight, which is our red tag from what we've seen so far. If you find yourself at a table where there's more than 2 players you've deemed are quite tight, I would leave that table and go to another one. There's no point in battling with players that don't put money in the pot. You're trying to build your bankroll as fast as possible. So if you're at a table like this, without really loose players on it, I would consider getting up and going. In fact, I wouldn't consider it, I would just do it. There's no point in playing at tables like that. So we'll see what Paris Hilton's like, and then we will make a decision of whether we're going to get up and leave the table. Well, pocket queens, we'll obviously be opening that. If we get 3-bet, we may 4-bet, depends on the player type. And this pocket 7s we're just going to call. Dreadful flop for pocket 7s. Any aggression here we've pretty much got to fold. This absolutely smashes an under the gun range. We can't really have any strong hands here when we call, because our pocket queens, kings and jacks we would likely 3-bet. We could maybe have jacks. The only big hand we can possibly have that we wouldn't 3-bet is 9, 10 and ace 10 suited. So we're just going to check and give up here. He obviously has all of those ace 10s and 9, 10s as well, so it's just a fold. Even hitting a 7 on the turn there, we're still not loving our hand at all. And then you saw the ace on the river. Still wouldn't be loving my hand at all. And we'd beat some 2 pairs, but that's it. This we're going to open. We'll call a 3-bet as well with this in these positions. And I'm just going to check this. It's pretty hard for him to hit this flop. So we don't really need to bet. We can call a bet. Dependent on size. Definitely 1 big blind we will call. Some draws I've got there. And I think we're just going to fold now. We haven't got much equity at all for a pot size bet. This type of player who just likes to fire off, we don't mind. Once we've got something, we can just check to him and let him build the pot for us. And the king jack offsuit, this we're going to fold. So even this guy we've got tagged as not very good. He's open to 4 big blinds, which we haven't seen him do yet. So we don't know if he's doing that with the best part of his range. So we're just going to fold this. It's not a great hand anyway. We definitely won't be calling with 3 other players to act after us with that. So if I ever think about what we'll bet here, that doesn't really hit his range at all. His opening range. So there's a lot of draws, spade draws that can be betting there. A caller on the big blind, that 6-7 suited type stuff, 7-8 suited, all would call from there. So it definitely favours his range more than his range. He's got a lot more middling cards and pocket pairs on the button. We'll play for another 2 minutes maybe, see if we can get another couple of spots to talk through, and then that'll do us for this one. So queen 10 off, that's just a fold from this position. From cut off or button, I don't mind opening it, but we won't be opening it from there. And the 6-7 suited, that's the bottom end of my opening range today, so we will open that to 3 big blinds. And out of position against a player we don't know anything about. I don't mind a bet here because we can rep the king, because we've opened from early position and we do have some backdoor stuff going. So I'm actually going to fire a half pot bet out and try and take this down. The problem is he has a lot of 9-10s and stuff which would call. We'll go for a bet and we'll take that one down. Tag our shortest stack who's joined the table, and this we're just going to check. I'm not going to raise it. Obviously he's posted blind here, so he can have anything. He can quite easily have a 6 or a jack. Our king high could be good. So we think about what we'll bet here. A 5 obviously would bet. He's made it nearly a pot size bet, so I'm just going to fold. We haven't got a great deal going on. And we will wait till we're on the button and then shut this tables down, and that'll do us. Against the 1 big blind, I'm going to call this. I'm not going to raise because we don't really want to be jamming 23 big blinds with queen jack offsuit. It's crap, and the king 9 offsuit will open. We can call a small raise because we're in position. We can make a decision on what to do after. So if this guy raises and then he jams his 23 in, we can just fold. If he raises like he has, he calls, we can just call. Hit top pair, which might get us in a little bit of trouble here. He obviously can have aces and kings, ace queen, stuff like that. So we're just going to proceed cautiously. And this we're going to half pot with our queen jack. We've probably got the best hand now when it goes check check. On table 2 there's a lot of draws got there, so I'm just going to check this back and use it as a bluff catcher. And this one, I think for protection we're going to go half pot. We don't want to see any overcards. And against that size, 3/4, what can he can have king, queen, which we block a little bit. 9, 10's got there. What else would he have? I'm going to fold against this guy. He's super tight. And against this guy, I think I'm just going to go for a small bet to try and get called by a worse queen, if he can have one. What can he have that can call us here? I'm going to fold that against him. And this, I'm going to go for pocket jacks would call. That size maybe, if he'd had that. Pocket 8s, pocket 9s might call that size. So we made that decision on the fold on the player type there. He's super tight. So if you think about what called that flop bet, a lot of 8, 9 would call it, and 9, 10 obviously would make the straight. And I don't see a worse jack than ours betting that size. So bluffs wise, I couldn't really find any that he had, because we block a lot of his calling hands that would be bluffing the river with our queen in our hand. So things like king, queen, queen 10, stuff like that. It's less likely he's got, because we have a queen. So with that one, I've decided to fold against that guy. And this last hand, I think I'm just going to call this ace 9 off. Let's see what he does. Bumps it up to 4. I'm just going to fold. We'll end the video there. So hopefully, if you're a beginning player, we played quite tight, quite snug. Talked through a lot of our decisions pre-flop and post-flop, what we're going to do. And then try to range our opponents when they've done certain actions in a couple of spots once it got to the flop. So hopefully you got a little bit out of that, and I will possibly do another one depending on how the video goes. As I said before, there's plenty of pre-flop stuff on the channel. If you're interested in any micro stakes coaching, just fire me an email. The email will be in the description. And particularly if you're a beginner or you're a losing micro stakes player, drop us a message and we'll see what we can do to try and get you on the way out of these stakes. Thanks again for watching. Drop a like on if you want. Do what you want. I'm not really bothered. But I'll catch you in the next one.